people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. Okay, Nakia is our home improvement specialist. He's right there. You can see Nakia Fleming. That was his that was his part last week. And then Robert Lee, private labeling and manufacturing specialist. He said, "Well, Carlo, why don't we ask this question? How do you know you have shown enough care for them to listen to what you know?" Robert, I don't even know how to answer that, so you're going to have to answer that for me. So you see this finger? Mute.
Well, I mean, when you stop and think about it, we always say that. How do you know if you have spoken enough care to pull their attention in to show them what you know? So for me, when I'm talking to somebody, I know I'm always wanting to provide value, always wanting to provide some sort of uplifting, either if it's not knowledge, some sort of motivation. So that way when they get curious about, well, how do you know about this? Or how did you come up with all this motivation? I look at them and it's like, well, for me, it's something that either somebody helped me with at one point or somebody showed me at one point. I mean, we can always try and create our own image. We can create our own realities. I mean, it is what it is. But for me to know I've shown somebody enough care is when not only does it go back to how well are they listening? Are they taking notes? Are they making eye contact with me? What are they doing to show that they're interested? And once I see those little signs that they are truly focused into the conversation, or I can see that they have relaxed in our conversation, then I know they're open to learning whatever it is that I have to offer. So that's kind of my outlook on how do I know I've shown enough care.
I was going to play off of Robert, but be on the opposite side of things. I know that I'm serving people very well when I talk less and I let them talk more. When I've taken the time before a conversation to clear my mind of whatever crazy chaos is going on that day, and I take all of my attention and I put it on that person, and I listen to what it is that's on their mind that day, that really tells me exactly what it is that I can do to help them. And they might not even realize that they're telling me, but when I find they hold most of the conversation is when I know that I've been serving that person the best that I could.
I love what she said. I love what everybody said, actually. I do a lot of what Nakia was talking about and actually what everybody just talked about. One of the things to play off what Heidi just said is it's a little bit easier to clear your head when you're preparing for like a coaching call or something like that, when you have a specific time. What I had to start doing, and you know, I talk about this a lot in my book, but I don't, you know, talk about it all the time in public, but I had to go through a huge spiritual journey last year, where I basically decided to, and I'd never done this before, but decided to partner with God in my life and my business. And that was huge because I had never, you know, I believed in God, but I didn't rely on it. You know, I relied on my own strength and that wasn't getting me anywhere. So what I've started doing in my life, and I had to train myself to do this, but I actually first thing in the morning, before I go to the gym, before I do anything, I, you know, get my spiritual self in line.
That's good. Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Jody, for sure. So for me, I guess after gathering everyone's answer to that question, how do I know I have shown enough care for them to listen to what I know? There's actually a great book called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And it's about recognizing the other person's want and needs. And I know it's about relationships, but you can really apply that into business or your relationship with your family and friends. It's actually a great read. But to that question, when you have a giver's gain mentality, you will always attract those who will care and that will care about what you're saying and eliminate the ones who aren't reciprocating. Because I mean, you can really read between the lines their body language, especially you know, when you've trained enough employees, where you've hired enough people, you kind of understand who cares and who doesn't. But I'm gonna kind of piggyback off on what Heidi said. It's about listening, right? I usually ask them the ultimate question of, how can I bring value to you? So when I ask that question, I can better understand how much care or knowledge to share with them based upon the answer that they provide to me. And what's even better is that they ask me how they can bring value to me. Then that care and value that we are sharing with each other upon communicating with each other will amplify. So really, it's that ultimate question: how can I bring value to you? And then when that person I'm speaking with reciprocates back and asks me that question, I will provide a lot of knowledge for sure. So that's just kind of like my take on that question of the day, based upon everyone's answer. So anyone else want to chime in?
Sure. Based on, I guess, what Heidi, Jody, and you just said, Carlo, I'm a great believer in listing skills. I think sometimes we as business people make the mistake of trying to figure out what do we need to say to get someone involved with our business or with our service. And I believe that's the wrong approach. It's not what we need to say. I think all of us have passed many things, but none of us have ever passed our mind reading courses. So instead of trying to figure out what we need to say to someone, why don't we just ask and they'll tell us what we need to hear? I mean, if we're great listeners and we ask them and truly care, then they're going to give us the hot buttons, what we need to push in order to help them and help ourselves the same way. And I think it does start with a true sincerity of wanting to give back, to want to help. I think if you are a giver and you want to help someone and you truly want to help someone, just listen to what they have to say. And I think, by the way, listening skills need to be taught. I see very, very few classes out there, especially in the public education system, where it teaches people how to be great listeners. Because I think there's a great difference between shutting up and hearing and listening. I think some people's idea of listening just means letting someone else talk. But I think it's a lot more active than that. It's a skill of listening, hearing what people are saying. I think also, to add to it, feed back to them what you think you heard. Because what someone said and your interpretation of it might be totally different than what they were trying to say. So I think once you listen and they say something, take a second and feed back and say, okay, Mary, what I heard you say was X, Y, Z. Is that a correct assumption of what you said? And it could be yes, it could be a validation. Yeah, that's exactly what I said, Danny, and go from there. Or you can say, no, I really didn't mean that. What I really meant to say was such and such. So that way you don't assume that you completely understood what they were saying by asking them or getting a clarification. I think once you really hear what someone needs and you really want to help them out, I think the rest is exceptionally easy.
Every morning, and once I got into the routine of, you know, I do meditation every single morning, like I can't miss a beat with that. And I also am very into health, and I've always been. So typically I'm doing yoga or working out 3 or 4 times a week. And if not, everything's off. The whole quarantine thing has been quite especially in New York, it's been, you know, I don't even know I just lost touch a little bit with reality, but just staying consistent with that has been the biggest key to all of that. And, you know, being that I tend to have so much going on, what meditation has helped me do is kind of stay focused and stay present. And what I try to do is when I'm listening to someone talk, in my head, I repeat back the sentences that they're saying. So that helps me stay more present in the conversation. That's been one of the biggest keys for me. And my biggest thing I've been working on is just being more present in my conversations instead of like all the thoughts going in my head and going in different directions. So that's really helped me, is just repeating back the sentence the person is telling me in my head. And it's worked. So that and meditation is just really helped me stay on point with everything.